following podcast was brought to you by the members of the Casino Skunk Secret Society. For just $1 a month, you can unlock every audio and video episode available instantly. And don't worry about any commitments. You can quit at any time. So for just $1, you can download every single episode and then bounce out. Just head to patreon.com/casinoskunk. Hello and welcome to the Secret Society. I am Ralph. This is episode 65. And for those of you that are just listening to the podcast and you're wondering where episode 64 is, that's over on my Patreon page. It's a video for No Time to Die trailer breakdown. So go ahead, and if you haven't seen that yet, go check that out. Today we are talking about Mandalorian episode 5, The Gunslinger, and I will be chatting about it with Jay Glatfelter, who you might know from the Jay and Jack podcast network, as well as his new YouTube show, Geek, Dad, Life. So without further ado, let's get a hold of Jay.
Anyway, how are you doing?
Good. I've been busy doing this thing. And then I have trying to get the next 2 weeks guest locked down. I had a bunch of people say, yeah, I'll do it. And then they kind of like dropped off. So we'll see. I have a week to figure that one out.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, all you need is something like say yes an hour, 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask Jack, but it's like, I've been trying to get like Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to Jack on the Owen and Brew barbecue, and it was like, he talked about the stuff that's like cool in the episode, but he doesn't know Star Wars.
Well, it's like that's why most of the shows we do now that are like about a TV show or something, I'll bring in a third person just so that way.
But so far they've been good. But yeah, I just been trying to get 2 guests. I need 2. I had Matt Eichhoff on, and I told him he was like, "Oh, do you want the other guys?" And I'm like, "Nah, that's all right." Nick drives me up the wall. He sounds like he sounds like he's swayed by every negative comment about Star Wars on the internet. Like it sounds like he likes saying things that he heard people complain about.
But that's just him about anything. He's a contrarian about anything.
It's so crazy. And then Chris is Chris. But the way I've been doing this, it's like I've like just been doing a one-on-one with like a diehard Star Wars fan, like people who know Star Wars like forever. And so it's kind of been nice being able to just say stuff like without having to like coddle the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I bring up like Trandoshans, I don't have to explain what that is. Like they know it's Bossk.
Trandoshans? What's a Trandoshan?
But you know what I mean? Just like yeah. So far it's been good. Like that's been good. But I'm glad it's only 8 episodes. Cause
I know. Well, I started like I was like, oh, I'll try this and see, doing a TV show thing on the Geek Dad Life, and then after that second one was that Friday, I was like, why am I doing this?
Right.
I'm out. I just want to like watch it and not have to. There's something about podcasting about TV shows for as long as I have, where it's just like, wait, I just want to like watch this and enjoy it and not have to like review every single one,
Right. And we're 1 week behind, I think, on Watchmen. We need to watch last week's, but
last week's so fucking good.
I know. I'm gonna see if I can watch it tonight. But yeah, it's been nice. Like I haven't done a weekly TV review since Darmalars. And I forgot how much of a pain in the ass it is.
I know.
It sucks. It sucks. It's just been crazy. And it's like, I don't know. I'm glad it's only 8 episodes. I really am. Because like I still have to edit and post like Kaiju podcast every other week.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah. It's
I see your, like, I follow your shit. Like you have like 10 things you're dropping on a Monday.
Yeah, Mondays Well, luckily tomorrow there's no kaiju podcast, but I'm sure we're gonna do. All right, let's do a podcast when the new Star Wars comes out. Me and Kevin record that like once every 3 months, maybe.
Yeah.
Like that's generous. Like it's probably more like 6. But speaking of the new Star Wars, about a month ago, I was talking to Giacchino. He said he saw it, and I said, how'd it go? And he said, oh, I really liked it. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, Star Wars fans like it? He said, Star Wars fans don't like anything. And I said, well, I love Solo, and I love Rogue One, so will I be okay? He said, you'll be okay. So that's good.
Star Wars fans are just
what happens?
Like the worst. And when did that happen?
I don't know.
When did that happen?
I don't know. It makes me so mad.
But somewhere, like I think there was fair griping with the prequels, but then something happened that kind of just turned with Force Awakens, where the initial feelings were like, oh yeah, and then just everyone just turned to like crap on it.
Yeah.
And now Star Wars fandom is just as bad as the worst of Twitter,
right?
Or some seedy subreddit or something. Like,
right.
What the hell happened to Star Wars?
I don't know. From 83 to 97, I was very, very happy living in my fandom.
Right? And it always felt more hopeful and more just fun than this, even Star Trek or Trekkers, or Trekkies,
yeah.
Which was far more like in the weeds, like every little minute detail,
right,
incredibly important, and you had to be like so studious, and there was just debates and fights over all these different things. But like Star Wars just felt so inclusive, and like you didn't have to be a rogue scholar or whatever but now it's just become just gross.
I know, it makes me mad. And like I don't really, like I've said this before, like I don't really care like about like other people's opinions as far as like, well, I mean there's certain people's opinions I care about, but as far as the masses go, I'm like, I don't care what they say. Like I'm gonna go watch this thing and I might like it or I might not, but I don't really care what other people think. And I really definitely don't want to get into arguments. Like for me, Solo is my 4th favorite Star Wars movie.
Yep.
After the original trilogy.
Solo.
What's up?
I say I know you love Solo. I like Solo. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And I loved Last Jedi. I thought it was like a breath of fresh air. Like I thought it was awesome when he threw the lightsaber, and the Yoda scene. I cried in that scene. That was beautiful, poignant. And
anything that has to do with Force users in that movie, I loved. Anything that had to do with the other stuff, I was not a fan of. Especially since the runtime was so long.
Yeah.
I kind of, I don't know. Yeah.
Even that, it's just like yes, it's kind of whatever, but I don't know. To me, it wasn't that.
Right.
The pacing felt weird of that, but to me, like I loved the Luke story in that one.
Yeah. That's a cut I'd like to see, but I'm not gonna. I'm like Ryan Johnson can do what he wants, and I don't want anyone going back and meddling with his thing. But there's something about that other storyline that felt a little. It actually felt like Star Trek more than Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was something, and maybe I was talking about this on Owen and Bruce, but how usually there's like 6 storylines, but Last Jedi was only 3 or something like that, or like just the way the editing was or something. I don't know, but
it's tough. But I mean, I'm happy. I'm excited for Rise of Skywalker, especially now. Like I like Mandalorian. I mean, I guess we can just be in it right now in the show.
yeah. Are you recording this?
I recorded when we started because stuff comes up and I'll be like, oh, that would have been good to put. The Mandalorian is a show I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
After the first episode, I really loved, and now I've got to really enjoying. There's something. So okay, I watched the show with Stevie, and it's awesome. Like on Friday night, and then I'll watch it again with subtitles before recording these podcasts. Because you kind of get like characters' names and stuff.
That's true.
And then this episode, I was like, I like the episode, but I don't feel like watching it again.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little more disposable. It feels disposable.
Yep. And I kind of felt that way on the second episode I talked about it on my YouTube channel, but it's just kind of like, it's just kind of just keeping the story on a little bit. It had some cool moments. And I think there's something that they need to find, or maybe they needed to find how long this thing is going to run, because they're really fun little adventures.
Right.
But when will we start getting some more meat on the bones of the Mandalorian's backstory? Because there's a lot of stuff here that they're not really even barely scratched the surface on yet.
Right. One of the things it's funny because it's like I think we were spoiled by Lost.
True.
And the fact that here is a serialized TV show where you follow kind of the intricacies and there's character arcs. This show is not serialized at all.
Not really. It's like maybe 10% serialized and then 90%, not Monster of the Week, but
right. It essentially it's like the Incredible Hulk. At the end of every episode, he leaves the town, walking and continuing on his adventure. In this show, he gets in a ship and flies off into space. So these episodes can pretty much be mixed and matched and played in whatever order they feel like, with the exception of episode or chapter 3, where he got the new armor. You'd be like, oh, where'd he get the new armor from? But other than that, it's like he lands on a planet, he goes on an adventure, he leaves the planet.
Yep.
And that's fine, but there's nothing really in the middle where you're just like, oh, more adventure. Like, because everybody in this episode dies. Like, you're like, oh, this is an interesting character. This kid that wants to be a bounty hunter.
Peli Moto?
I didn't even write it down. Yeah. Oh, that's the
Sedaris is like
Sedaris. Right. She didn't die.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't die, and then the pit droids. But yeah, because Ming Na Wen's I think was it Fennec something.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, here's like a big foil for the season or something, and it's like, oh no, she's dead.
And that's something that's kind of missing. Is sort of, it would be kind of interesting if there was like a main villain that we can kind of see along the way, like tracking the Mandalorian's movements. So there's a reason why he's going to different planets, or there's I don't know who this space dogfight was with. It's just kind of a random person, and they're disposable.
Yep.
And I thought with the kid in this episode with the earring, he could have, like, I'm like, oh, this is an interesting character. It'll be neat to see him sort of kind of, maybe he keeps running into the Mandalorian later, and he's doing everything he can to get his like legendary status or whatever. But he dies.
Yeah,
so
he's dead.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, so once again, it's just the Mandalorian and the baby in the ship taking off from another planet. And so I'm like, I need something. And it doesn't need to be completely serialized. It just needs to be something more in the middle. Like the thing I liked about this episode is that it took place on Tatooine. And I mean, there's a ton of fan service in it, which usually drives me bonkers. Like the training remote in The Force Awakens. Like when Finn picks up the training remote and he's like just staring at it. I'm like, okay, I get it. Or Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba in Rogue One, where it's like, it just kind of goes on just a little too long.
Yep.
But in this one, it makes sense. We've seen banthas in pretty much every time they go to Tatooine, so it's good to see those and dewbacks and stuff.
Yep.
The cantina, it's the same cantina, but now it's overrun by droids,
Yep.
which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was neat. It's the same. Was it EV 99?
EV-99. Is it the one
It's not.
from
It's not
Jabba's palace, do you think?
Yeah, well, EV-99 is the one that's in Jabba's palace.
Right.
She's actually a female droid, but these are, I'm assuming, aren't the same droid, but of the same spec, kind of like
Right.
IG-11's the same as IG-88 or same
Got
model.
it.
But
Because, I mean, once Jabba died 5 years ago in the story, what happens to EV-99?
God, you're right. And even then,
She goes and looks for work. Right.
But that's a good. But see, there's like so much there where the Hutts essentially, ran Tatooine. Like the Empire wasn't really there because it was so much on the outskirts, and the Hutts, essentially ruled that planet. It's why Obi-Wan and Luke were able to lay low and kind of stay out of the crosshairs of Vader. Plus, I think Vader's home because his mother and whatnot. Touchy subject with Tusken Raiders there, but yeah, I think like that would have been interesting. While you're like, I think to your point, it's twofold where you're introducing really interesting characters, but you're killing them off.
Yeah.
And then you have this stuff you could really kind of dig into, like when you're in Tatooine, show the aftermath of what does happen in a power vacuum where Jabba the Hutt is killed. Who fills in that void in the criminal underground that kind of runs Tatooine? That I find interesting.
Yeah.
Or would find interesting, but we didn't really get into that, which is fine. I just feel like you have that there. You have the opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one, and I'm as we talked about, I'm not a critical Star Wars fan, but I know Kathleen Kennedy, I think, complained about how there's not the same source material as Marvel Comics has, and I just like, well, no, there is. Like, just look at Wikipedia. Yeah, there's so much stuff there.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, with Lost, we were given like story stuff that would help us fill in gaps. This one doesn't really have that. We can just say, oh, it was taken over by droids, but we don't know that. And there's not enough there to kind of help us guide us a little bit. Like there's a droid that looks identical to R5D4. Is it R5D4? Did he get his motivator replaced and wandered in there?
Yeah, no, I totally think that was R5D4, who is, I love R5D4.
Right.
And also, I mean, what's your thoughts on, no, I don't think I read the comic, whatever said it, but that, he sacrificed himself so that R2D2 would get picked.
I guess I'm fine with it. It's one of those things where it feels more like a theory, like I hear a lot of, this is what I equate it to. I don't really read a lot of EU, but I hear a lot about EU. Yeah. So I kind of like it, hearing about extended universe or expanded universe, either one. I enjoy hearing that as almost like
a legend, or
like a legend, as if we're in canon and we heard rumors from the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen it in a movie or a TV show. Yeah. So it may or may not be true.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that people are talking about it.
Yep.
So I kind of like that aspect to it. That he blew his motivator on purpose. So it's kind of like the whole, you hear like I remember one of the stories of Chewbacca's death in one of the books where he got crushed by a planet or something. Like I like thinking that story still exists amongst smugglers who are traveling from spaceport to spaceport, but then you see Force Awakens and you're like, oh, that's not true.
Yep.
It's just like, and them calling it legends is kind of an interesting thing. And the fact that they're like saying, if you want it to exist, it can, unless we contradict it. But I like the idea of it still sort of being a story that people tell in their travels. So the whole thing with R5D4 sacrificing himself, I like the idea of it. I think if I were to see it in a movie, I'd be like, that's stupid. But But as far as like this weird like legend that's out there amongst you know the civilians of this galaxy, like I like that.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe it's interesting too watching The Mandalorian while also watching Damon Lindelof and company's Watchmen.
Right.
Or it is also like a treasured, piece of pop culture history, and I think he's doing a really good job of bringing in a new story while also existing in the same universe as that, treasured 12-issue run, and also kind of expanding that story. And it's just so deep and so multi-layered.
Right.
So that's where I feel like there's still plenty of room for this show to do that. And I think maybe now, I think there's two ways to go about it. One, Disney's like, well, this works, so we'll just keep doing this, which I think that will be a problem. Or it's like, wow, look how big of a hit this is. We've nailed the visuals, we've nailed the feel, we've nailed, our main characters, and then let's put a little bit more into actually kind of building out the story for season 2, where maybe we can dig into a little bit more. Or are they feeling like Disney Plus and just their brand is going to be, easily digestible? Just kind of like more sugary, sweet kind of, candy, as opposed to, an elegant meal that I might get with a Damon Lindelof writing a show.
Well, I bet you if this show came out, like if the finale of Mandalorian was like a week before the premiere of Watchmen, I think we'd be in a different boat.
Right?
Because Watchmen is so good.
Yeah.
Not that the Mandalorian isn't good, but it's just like it's like night and day.
Right? Yeah. Can I just say in this episode how I love I just love Pedro Pascal's approach to the Mandalorian, or how they're writing him.
Right.
Just in terms of, he has a past, but he is a bounty hunter, but he's inherently good, or he does have a set of values and ethics and a code where he follows like the Mandalorian code, but he seems to have like his own as well. And part of that for me was just where that young hotshot or what wannabe bounty hunter Toro, I think, was like ready to just blow up some Tusken Raiders. But he's like, no, they just you talk to them and we'll figure this out. Like, this is their land or whatever.
Right.
Just kind of goes through, and I just thought there's a level of, I don't know, kindness in him that Boba Fett was always more of like a scoundrel bounty hunter, or just or his like an evil neutral or neutral evil, where the Mandalorian it's not as shaded in that the Boba Fett was. I really have enjoyed with the character.
Right. I enjoyed the scene with the Tusken Raiders, because clearly they had some sort of respect for the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because obviously they snuck up behind the dude, and the Mandalorian was just sitting there the whole time, and they definitely weren't didn't have an issue with him. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was the first time we've seen the Tusken Raiders not be just kill whomever they're around.
Aggressive.
Yeah, because it's like, a New Hope, and then episode one where they're like throwing chaos into the pod race.
Yeah. Episode 2.
Oh,
Shmi. But
but the women and children too.
Yeah.
I hate them.
Okay, so I've been watching the prequels.
Me too.
Kind of a lot lately.
Me too.
And I gotta say, I've really been enjoying them.
Me too.
It's the same movies. How is it changing? Maybe,
and we talked about this, how we're so frustrated with what Star Wars fandom has become. Maybe we're have a different viewpoint, or it's, for me, I think with Phantom Menace, I hadn't seen it since it came out. Was it 99 in theaters?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it since then. And I was 15 or whatever when that movie came out, and I enjoyed it. Like I liked it, and then everyone just crapped on it for another 20 years, and then I just think I had this more negative viewpoint of it. But then when I watched it again, and especially with Zach, like I really enjoyed the story. It was, an engaging story, and even the Jar Jar Binks stuff. Like Zach really liked that stuff. It's a really kind of child-friendly character, and yes, it's like stupid, but it's not in the movie that much.
Yeah.
After kind of that first half, and that lightsaber battle, I always loved the lightsaber battle at the end. It's like it's one of the best like saber battle set pieces ever. So I really didn't mind it at all. And then the Attack of the Clones is probably the weakest for me out of the original or the prequel 3, because the one thing I just can't still is bad to me is just the love story between Anakin and Padme, because it's just so rough. Like I never get how they're supposed to be in love with each other.
Right. It's one of those things where when I'm watching it now, I become less distracted by the visuals. And I'm just listening to the dialogue. It's not delivered tremendously great, the dialogue, but the words that are on the page all kind of tie together with episode 3. So there's the scene where the Jedi are deciding whether or not to let Anakin be trained as a Jedi. He's clearly too old, they say, to start the training. And Mace Windu tells Anakin, no, he's not going to get trained. And so Qui-Gon takes him under his wing and says, hey, listen, just be mindful, hang out with me. I can't train you as a Jedi, but just sort of pay attention to what I'm doing. In episode 3, they grant him a seat on the council without making him a master, and it's once again Mace Windu telling him no. And so I think with a maybe in the hands of another director, that sort of mirroring of scenes might have been more noticeable. Or maybe if you just weren't distracted by the sheer weirdness of this Jedi Council that you're seeing for the first time, that you're able to pay attention to the dialogue and what is going on. But you don't really get a scene of Anakin being upset about not being trained as a Jedi Knight. And you kind of get a little bit of him being upset about not being a Jedi Master. And it's like all the stuff is there. And in episode 2, he mentions that Obi-Wan's holding him back. And obviously he's still a Padawan at that moment. And he just wants to move forward with his training. And it all like watching him now, it's like George Lucas knew what he was doing. But maybe, and this might even, I'm gonna tie this to the movie itself. Maybe the visual effects and the stuff he could do was clouding his judgment as the director, much in the way that the Jedi's power were being clouded so they couldn't see the dark side. Like it's almost meta, like he was so overcome with all of this power that he had at his fingertips that he didn't think about making sure that the story was laid out in a way that was kind of cohesive or laid out to the audience so it was really easy to understand. And so I kind of like that aspect of it. What I did like about The Last Jedi is it also kind of helped nudge the prequels like a little bit. It helped kind of raise the prequels up by having Yoda say, hey, burn the books. The Force there's the Force doesn't necessarily have to be tied to the Jedi. And Luke says that. Luke is like, it's the Force. The Jedi is essentially a religion. And what he learns through Yoda, clearly, in the time he's been on this island, is that the Jedi fucked up, which is what they did in the prequels. And so it's nice that that this Disney area is kind of letting you know that the prequels do exist, and they're taking sort of the parts that maybe we didn't understand and kind of making them hit you over the head a little bit more, saying, the Jedis were clouded by their power, and they were spread thin across the galaxy, and they were kind of too many numbers of Jedi to kind of focus that amount of, the Force. It was spread too thin. Whereas the Sith, being that there's only two of them, were able to kind of concentrate the dark side to them. Like, it's two supercharged Sith against hundreds of barely charged Jedi. And that's how the Sith were able to do it. And I like that in The Last Jedi, that Luke essentially says, the Force is something that lives in all of us, whether the Jedi is a religion.
Yep.
Like, you don't need to have the religion or follow the religion to believe in the Force. And me and my personal beliefs on this planet kind of match that. I hate any organized religion.
Yep.
Because they're only in it for the money. They're an organization. They're an organization created by men, mostly men. I'm sure there's some religions that are organized by women, but they're organized by human beings. What does that have to do with the higher power you believe in? And that's why that part of The Last Jedi I like so much. I'm like, this speaks to me. Yeah, and it also tells me why the old religion sucked in the prequels.
Well, and that's just it. Like, that's where, to me, it does work so well. And that's why I love The Last Jedi. Because, like, well, why would Luke go and whatever? It doesn't make any sense. Like, well, no, it makes perfect sense. Right. He clearly won. He had his own hubris to try and rebuild it, and then it got destroyed. So it's like almost fate, the Force, whatever, is beating him over the head. Like, this is not it. This is not what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And then, in studying the Jedi system, we're like, oh yeah, like this already happened. Like, obviously we need to shift in a different direction if we're going to get this right. That's what I did really like about The Last Jedi and what Luke was trying to do. And to me, it made perfect sense. And, wasn't maybe a little more over-indexed into the not participating, sure. But that's where I think Rey is possibly the true balance bringer to where, they're balance of good in the universe. But
right.
It doesn't have to be this hugely bureaucratic group of however many Jedi running things. But I do like that point that you made about the prequels, because there are things that George got real, because I think, and the things that he always got well, right? The basic story, and the effects and his kind of action and his action set pieces, like how he kind of through his eye, how he sets those up, and all of those in the prequels are awesome. Like, the basic story and the foundation is there, and I think it's really good. And I noticed the same thing that watching Phantom Menace, like, oh yeah, like Mace when who told him no here, and I know Anakin was all bent out of shape because Mace was the one that kind of told him no, that he wasn't going to be rank of master. And then his action set pieces, like the pod race, is really cool.
Yeah,
a really like exhilarating thing. The lightsaber duels were incredible. The end of Attack of the Clones, where all the Jedi are there, the first time you see him in mass, was incredible. Right. And I remember the Yoda thing. I know people kind of poke fun at it now, but like in the movie theater, I remember everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's amazing!" And then Last Jedi. I mean, I'm sorry, Revenge of the Sith. A lot of amazing set pieces in there, and the story, I thought, concluded really well. So I think if he would have maybe had somebody else do the screenplay and somebody else direct, I think they would have been, on par without any of the nitpicks that people have for the prequel trilogy.
Right. And I think when rewatching Attack of the Clones a couple weekends ago, I kind of enjoyed the chemistry between Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman during the action stuff.
Yeah.
Like, where they're in the arena and they're back to back, and she says she calls this aggressive in negotiations, which is a great callback to an earlier scene. But those other scenes are set up like a steamy romance novel cover, like it's like really, like I would have liked it if instead of them just on a retreat to Naboo, like if they ended up in some sort of dire situation, like if the ship that they were going to Naboo on was overtaken by bounty hunters or separatists, and they had to essentially do like the movie Speed or Die Hard in this giant shuttlecraft,
or
like
Empire
the whole time.
Strikes Back, right? Like that's part of what the Leia and Han thing. Like they're
Right.
kind of on the run the whole entire time. They just have these little moments of sexual tension and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it worked there. So I
Yeah.
think that's a great call out.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those things where it's like it would be like the movie Speed, where they kind of get forced into a relationship, like like they could be against each other at first and then have it go together, and then through that you see that they can function together. You have a Jedi Knight and a senator who's very smart, and you can each bounce each other's skills off of each other in the different situations, so that she's more like she kind of has her more head in the game, and he's more kind of rushes the judgment as he does. But they each have their own personal attributes that can help move them along, because that like I said, that arena scene where it's her, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, the banter is pretty good, where Obi-Wan's like, what are you doing here? We came to rescue you. And he's like that whole thing, and then with her and him riding around together, it's like they kind of get forced in the situation, and they have a lot of back and forth. Like it's that stuff I like.
Yeah.
But then you come back to episode 3, and then they're just standing. She's brushing her hair, and it's like, like I understand the info that's given. Yeah. But yeah, the whole thing with him setting up in Attack of the Clones, after he kills the Tusken Raiders and he wasn't able to save his mom, he's even back then talking about how he should be more powerful, how if he were more powerful, he would want to, like his one superpower he ever wanted was to make sure that he could save the people he loved. And that's like the whole premise of the episode 3. And so like all the seeds are in there. It's just kind of not, maybe it should hit you over the head more. I don't know. But
no, I don't think you need to hit the head over any more than, because I feel like it's pretty direct, right? It is pretty direct. It's just the way it connects, or the way the story lands, I think, is maybe like 80% there. There's a 20% gap in each of those things. It just needs a more nuanced writer's hand to kind of like create a better storyline for that, because it is there. You're right, 100%.
In the original Star Wars, we get Luke talking to the droids. He has his Disney princess moment where he's saying that he just wants something to teleport him off the rock, and he just wants he's able to tell the audience what his motivations are, where he wants to be. And then you get a moment where he walks out and looks at the twin suns, and we understand that's all he wants is to get off this planet. There's nothing like that for Anakin, except for that scene with Princess Leia, or with with Padme, where he's like, I wish I can save the ones I love from dying. But it's not. You're so worked up with the previous scene where he's killing Tusken Raiders that you're not thinking about his motivations, because right now, as far as I know, his motivations are, I'm going to kill these people. I just want revenge. But so it's kind of set up in a little, it just, there's something about it. Like if you just sit there and listen to the words, it all makes sense. The last time I watched the prequels, I actually did it in a reverse order.
3, 2, 1?
3 to 1. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. And that's when I started really enjoying them, because I watched 3 and paid attention and listened to everything that was being said. And then when I watched 2, then I'm like, oh, that directly ties to it. So it kind of, that's where I came up with the whole thing where Mace Windu told him he can't be trained. And I was like, oh, it's weird watching them in reverse order. It just, something when I did that just clicked.
Okay, so there's much debate about your viewing order. What's the Ralph edit then? What's the Ralph order? So
usually, if I'm to watch all of them, it's release order.
Okay, but now it's 3, 2, 1 thing. So how would you shoehorn that into a viewing experience?
I don't know. It was a one-time thing. It was right when Solo came out, and like before Solo came out, I decided to watch Rogue One, and then I watched Solo when it came out, and then I was like, oh, let me watch episode 3, just to kind of see where
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The
All
galaxy is.
there at the end.
And then when I saw episode 3, I'm like, oh shit, let me watch 2. It was weird. It just happened. It was like going back in time. But for this rewatch, for leading up to Rise of Skywalker, I'm doing it in chronological order.
Okay, so you're doing 1, 2, 3. Was it
Solo, Rogue One, yeah,
4, 5, 6,
7, 8,
8, 9, 10. Or no? Are you adding Mandalorian into that too? Is that
no?
Okay.
No, I'm good. Should we talk about that show?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
I don't know what else. I do
have to drop out at 9 or not as close to 9, but we'll have to watch Watchmen and then record a podcast. Right?
Yeah, I'm hoping that people aren't upset that we haven't really talked much about the episode. There's things I liked. Docking Bay 35 was cool.
Yep.
It wasn't until recently that I realized that outside of Docking Bay 94 had a giant 94 next to the door. And this one has, I was looking for it. I was going to say, okay, is it 94? No, it's 35. I didn't realize it was Amy Sedaris until the credits.
I was not that, I guess I wasn't spoiled, but I saw some article that she's going to be in it or something like that.
Yeah, like the way her makeup was done and her hair.
It definitely doesn't look, on first pass, you don't think it's her.
No. And her voice is like unmistakable. So as soon as it said it, I'm like, oh yeah, no shit. Like I wasn't thinking too hard into it. I was just kind of enjoying it. I guess one thing that we should probably mention is there's a mysterious figure at the end of the episode.
Yep.
Have you heard anything?
No, I generally try to stay like super spoiler free as best as I can.
And I feel like there wasn't enough there to see who it was. And
was it Carl Weathers' character? What's his name again?
Grief Karga.
Yeah, Grief. It could have been like him, like because I would assume like if there is like that character's going to keep trying to follow him, it's going to be him. You know.
But here's the thing. This character was so shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So if it's Grief Karga, if it's Carl Weathers, that would be a great ending. Like we would see him. Oh no, he's coming after him.
Yeah.
He's been on the trail. By hiding him, it doesn't make any sense. So by hiding him, it means that it's a character we haven't seen yet. Which kind of makes me think that it's maybe a classic trilogy character, but I don't know if they'll do that. Maybe it's like just Giancarlo Esposito. But I haven't
seen him yet. Yeah, there's only 3 episodes?
3 episodes left.
Yeah.
But why not show him?
Yep.
So it doesn't make any sense, especially if it's a cliffhanger ending.
Can I make a theory?
Because it's like, someone else is there. Okay, cool. We've run across a lot of people who are chasing the Mandalorian already, including the opening of this episode. And so it's like, oh, I don't know. Who is that? I'm like, I don't care.
It's Boba Fett. That's my theory.
That's cool if it is, but it doesn't make sense. It's not a cliffhanger. It's just a person. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Like if it had a silhouette of like Darth Vader or someone like, you know, or like
Darth Vader's dead, right?
Yeah, or like Dengar, you know, like if it had like it looked like something, but it just looked like a guy.
Well, it's kind of cool. The first few weeks, like you had one of that original set of bounty hunters,
right?
Fire, but we haven't had a Dengar. We haven't had a Zolam and Zuckuss.
Forlam and Zuckuss.
Forlam and Zuckuss.
Or Bosk. Well, we had a Trandoshan,
right? So that was like, okay, that's your Bosk right there.
Oh, man, dude. In Solo, when they mentioned Bosk, I was so happy. Yeah, I love Bosk.
Oh, I know you're a Bosk fan.
But I mean, like, what if it was Bosk? Like, that would have been cool. Like, you just see the knee coming down. It's like the yellow jumpsuit.
It's hard to say because his foot's pretty, like, you know, that's like his one scene in Empire is like looking at his feet.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. If it's something like if it's in darkness, but we can make the silhouette of Bosk, that gives us a week of being super excited and everybody on the internet having like Bosk trending. But right now it's just a guy. And we didn't get enough, like, yeah, there's just not enough in there to like be like to speculate. It just literally looks like a guy with a cape.
Yep, it's a good point.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll see. I love the pit droids.
Yes.
I've been really, because I never liked the prequels. Like, I've never really been into them until like maybe the last year or so. Mm. But I've always appreciated the design.
Oh yeah.
And so seeing like prequel era stuff show up, like the super battle droids or the pit droids, like I'm like all in on that, dude. I want like, give me a Naboo starfighter. Like, that's my favorite ship from the prequels. Like that's what I want. If you're gonna do prequel stuff, cool, do it. I mean, shit, put in some characters from the prequels. I don't care. Maybe that dude is Jimmy Smits, because we don't know that he was on Alderaan.
That's true. We don't know if he was on Alderaan or not. I was just assumed he died on Alderaan, but yeah, I'd be cool with that. He'd be pretty old at this point, though, right? I mean, that's
well, in Rogue One, would be like 5 years later.
That's true.
So he'd be gray, but
because Battle of Yavin and then Battle of Endor. How many years are between Battle of Yavin and Battle of Endor? It's like 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Something like that.
So yeah, he wouldn't be that much older.
Yeah. All right. This is a weird episode. We didn't cover a whole lot, but I definitely love talking Star Wars.
Well, but there wasn't a whole lot in the story, right? Like his ship got damaged. He had to land in Tatooine. He had to get it fixed, so he needed money to do it, and he can't be in the guild, so he kind of have to scrape by and. My favorite
fan service moment is the shot of him on the dewback. I can't not talk about this. That's based on the classic production photo of the stormtrooper on the dewback.
Yep.
Like, that is for like fans who've enjoyed Star Wars their entire life. Like, that was like, sure, there's dewbacks and banthas and sand people and I'm surprised there wasn't a crate dragon skeleton, but the docking bay and the cantina and R5D4 and EV99, like all of that sort of like fan service stuff. But that shot was like for us.
Yep.
And I loved it. That's going to be on the Twitter. My Twitter artwork has that shot. It's a little too wide for the Instagram artwork, but I mean, it's so awesome.
It just would have like doubled down on also the holiday special and have that gun that's obviously kind of based off of what Boba Fett had in the holiday special or whatever. Kind of have that like cocked to the side a little bit too would have been neat. Because I think in the concept of the art they're showing afterward, he had that gun with him the whole time, but he didn't have it in the actual episode with him.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Cool.
But also, it's interesting that Fennec knew everything, or at least knew about that bounty hunter that has the child and all that, or the person that may be a child or whatever. So, word of what happened is going around, and it is really. I mean, to me, it's like, how long can they go on? And maybe that's just what it is. It goes on for like 7 seasons of just him and Yoda.
Do you feel like maybe he should put the baby in a carbonite chamber? Like, especially in this context, in this episode, where he just left the baby in the ship.
Yeah.
Like, just carbon freeze the baby.
Yeah, but it's dangerous to carbon freeze
a baby.
Or anybody, I would guess, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess they kind of perfected it. Like, Han Solo was the first test subject, and he survived.
Yeah. It's probably like be really effed up. I don't know. I feel like doing it to a little baby is kind of.
It was a little tiny old dude like sitting there in the middle.
As a parent to young children, are there moments I wish I could carbon freeze my child and put them away somewhere? Sure, but I wouldn't do it.
They would get hibernation sickness, but I mean, if you could freeze them over like the flu season, just storm it at the grandparents' house. Let Jack take care of it. Just keep an eye on this. You don't have to do anything. We're going to go on a trip. We'll be back in a couple months. It's weird, though.
What's weird?
If you were to do that. But I feel like it's definitely cheating and it's definitely off-putting. But at the same time, like, it works. It's an option.
Oh man, parenting tips with Ralph.
The Star Wars universe. All right, let people know where they can find you. I probably said it at the beginning. I did an intro already. Well, I didn't do an intro already, but I'm the past.
Do you want to do an intro now? And you can cut
no,
it
usually no. I could. No, I'll do it later.
Okay.
I have all the afternoon.
Yes, you can find me. I still podcast with Jack and a bunch of friends over at the Jay and Jack Network, jayandjack.com. And then recently I started my own kind of side projects covering things that I enjoy, the geeky things in life, over at geekdad.life or just youtube.com/geekdadlife. Done about 18 episodes or something so far and cover everything from, action figure collecting and I'm passionate about arcade games and I don't know, everything that just kind of catches my fancy that I enjoy. That's what that channel and stuff is.
And then we're right on the cusp. We're right on the cusp of a new Ghostbusters trailer, dude.
Oh, so yeah, that's why it's nice we record tonight, because tomorrow, like this week on Geek Dad Life, is all Ghostbusters. I'm going to do a trailer reaction, which I'm so excited about, and then we're going to deep dive later in the week on all the potential merchandise.
Yeah.
Because some of the SKUs have come out for what Hasbro is doing. And Hasbro bought out Kenner, and Kenner did the original real Ghostbusters toy line. Plus possibly Ecto Cooler coming back again. So youtube.com/geekdadlife. I'm so excited about tomorrow. And then just as we get into Ghostbusters, because it's like that's my thing of all.
This and Star Wars, right?
Like Star Wars, there's like the Holy Trinity.
I don't know. Well, your username, as long as I've known you, has been Luke Fink, which is based on Luke Skywalker and Peter Venkman.
Yep.
So it's like
it's probably Ghostbusters, Star Wars, Back to the Future. Like that's probably the Holy Trinity for.
Yeah, mine's a little different.
What's your Holy Trinity?
I would say Star Wars, Green Lantern, James Bond.
Yeah, that's
and then
true.
I think like right after that is Godzilla, which is weird because I do a Godzilla podcast, but
Godzilla like Lost isn't in my Holy Trinity, and that's probably the thing.
I know. I always forget about it too. When people say, "Oh, what kind of nerd stuff do you like?" I always forget Lost, but I love Lost so much.
Yeah, right. It's
probably like 4. No, wait. I said Godzilla, then Lost.
It's 4, yeah.
Then like probably Tron. I love Tron.
Oh man, Walt Disney World is getting the Tron thing. You guys aren't getting Tron.
Yeah, we were gonna go to Walt Disney World next year, but we're gonna postpone that until Tron opens up.
Oh man, I've watched like the ride-throughs and where is it Shanghai? I don't know where it's at, but it looks so amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah. Alrighty. I'll let you go.
All right.
Everyone check out janejack.com and Geek Dad Life. I subscribe to both, and then I hit that bell button. No, I don't hit the bell button.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hit subscribe. Click that bell button to be notified.
Yeah, I check YouTube every day, and I subscribe to just like a handful of things. But yeah, thanks for coming on, dude. It's good talking to you. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Maybe after Rise of Skywalker, huh?
Ooh, that'd be dope.
Dude, it's like 2 weeks away.
Holy crap. Christmas is like 2 weeks away.
Right.
This late Thanksgiving thing is just completely destroyed.
Yeah, it fucked us up.
Yeah.
All right, get out of here.
All right, man.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, McClunky.